The concept of commodities is central to economic exchange, but what determines their value? While neoclassical economics assesses worth based on the comparison between desire and availability, Marx emphasizes production and labor as the source of exchange value. This collection of essays spans various societies, from prehistoric Balkan settlements to 20th century India, to illustrate that commodities are not merely value-free objects traded in a neutral market or products of labor. Instead, they are potent symbols that express and define social relations, influence technological development, shape political systems' legitimacy, and provide people with ways to comprehend their world. The cultural perspective sheds new light on commodities, but whether it is more fundamental to understanding economic and social change than material transformations remains a matter of debate. In an introductory theoretical essay, anthropologist Arjun Appadurai challenges Marx's notion that commoditization is exclusively tied to modern capitalism. He argues that commodities exist across a wide range of societies, and their value is subjectively determined based on worth in exchange, rather than the labor required for their production. Appadurai also disputes the idea that commodity exchange is neutral, asserting that people's desires are shaped by cultural standards and criteria, such as sumptuary regulations or fashion trends. Another contributor, Igor Kopatov, delves further into the theoretical discussion, proposing the concept of an object's cultural biography as a component of its value. Kopatov's work on African slavery examines how objects that should be beyond commoditization, such as human beings, can be commercialized. He highlights the movement of objects between singularization and commoditization, driven by the economy's push for greater commoditization and culture's resistance to it. In complex societies, objects may be designated as beyond exchange, and certain categories, such as sacred and non-sacred, can be created to prevent certain items from becoming commodities. However, the line between singularity and commoditization is not always clear, as certain objects, like art, may intermittently enter the commodity sphere, while maintaining cultural value. Kopatov's concept of cultural biographies offers a valuable lens for understanding the dynamic and complex social lives of things. The following essays delve into the cultural biographies of objects, exploring the ways they are exchanged and their symbolic value. For instance, William H. Davenport demonstrates how food vessels and canoes offered at memorial feasts in the Solomon Islands acquire ritual importance, leading to their decommoditization. Patrick Geary illustrates how the value of medieval relics is determined through a social negotiation, where all parties must agree on their validity and efficacy, making relics less like commodities and more often circulated as gifts or objects of plunder. C.A. Bailey provides a compelling example of how commodities can carry symbolic significance in traditional Indian society, where cloth conveys purifying or polluting substances. While Indian culture strongly emphasizes singularizing cloth, it still needs to be exchanged as a commodity. The ability of kings to maintain loyalty from tax-paying subjects relied on reciprocal transactions involving cloth. The refusal of British colonial rulers to engage in such exchanges led to a loss of legitimacy. During the Swadeshi movement, nationalist leaders recognized the symbolic importance of cloth and promoted locally produced homespun to build national consciousness, legitimize Indian governance, and inspire spiritual regeneration. These shifts in the meaning of commodities raise an important question that Appadurai's analysis does not directly address. Is it structural change in the economy and society, rather than solely cultural change that bestows value to commodities. Examples such as the stimulant cat in northeastern Africa, described by Lee Casanelli, suggest that structural changes, such as the growth of new social groups, can impact the value and use of commodities. Similarly, Alfred Jull's study of the Muria people in central India examines the survival of cultural norms amid social changes. Jull notes the impact of structural change on the Muria's egalitarian ethos, as they become less isolated and more stratified. In Brian Spooner's cross-cultural account of Turkmen carpets production and Western trade, the primacy of structure becomes more evident. He argues that increased social complexity and mass production in the West create a need for authenticity that Oriental carpets satisfy. However, the carpet trade relies on the construction of a myth about their origin to lend them authenticity and value. The lack of understanding between societies regarding the true nature of the carpets is attributed to their different stages of social, demographic, economic, and technological development. The impact of structural versus cultural change on production and consumption remains unclear, as evidenced by the essays in the collection. Colin Renfrew's examination of the archaeological evidence from prehistoric graves at Varna suggests that social developments do not solely proceed from technological improvements, but also provide impetus for the adoption of new technologies. The emergence of elites in prehistoric societies led to increased demand for prestige metal objects, which, in turn, drove technical advancements. Here, cultural change stimulates technological growth, but it is also linked to social development, forming a circular relationship with the expansion of the copper and bronze industry. In William M. Reddy's essay on thinking about cloth in pre- and post-revolutionary France, the impact of culture on economic change is illustrated using commercial dictionaries from the 1720s and 1830s. However, it becomes apparent that social and material transformations play more fundamental roles. The 18th century dictionary describes an old regime world with privileges, guild customs, government regulation, and socially stratified taste in dress, whereas the 1830s dictionary reflects capitalist production, commercial methods, entrepreneurship, and new technologies. The French Revolution disrupted the old cognitive order and constructed a new one. Yet, the question arises of what accounts for change: the gradual construction of a new common-sense worldview or the revolutionary event that upends existing habits of mind. Moreover, how do we explain the formation of a new order in places like England, which experienced significant material change, but did not undergo a revolution? While many contributors aim to provide cultural interpretations of commodity use and economic exchange, it remains uncertain whether a purely cultural perspective can be clearly distinguished from changes in material structures. Nevertheless, the shortcomings of specific essays offer valuable insights, and the disagreements among the authors lead to fruitful discussions. It is commendable that this group of anthropologists and historians engaged with each other and tackled a topic that deserves more attention. After all, our existence is deeply intertwined with the search for commodities, making it fitting that the object of our labors becomes the subject of our scholarly endeavors.